So, it's really exciting to be here at this conference talking about a leading technology, a new technology, one that most of us are at the leading edge on and still constantly learning about as that technology grows. And so, Armand, I might start with you. As you've watched this technology grow, what are some maybe specific moments or key wins with AI where you thought, wow, this was a big leap forward in understanding how I utilize this? And then maybe if there are other moments that were not, tried something, didn't work. What are some specific stories you might have there?
Is this working? Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay. For me, the first one, I'm a software engineer. So the first win that I had was in code. I've seen other people have this moment in whatever they do, but I was actually a pretty late adopter to ChatGPT. Like all my friends were talking about it, but every time I looked up how people are using ChatGPT, it was like, write a haiku. And I'm not a poet, so I was not interested in writing haikus. But one day I was writing, thank you for laughing. Very funny joke. One day I was writing like this long code, and there was one piece that I've written this code so many times, but it's like this boilerplate thing that you have to do. And I said, hey, like maybe ChatGPT could do this. I've tried so many times, but maybe it could do it. And it knocked it out of the park. And that was basically the process that we run. Like I ran that as an individual where I got a quick win and I was like, holy crap, this is really great. Let me try it more next time and next time and next time. And we when we're training individuals, that's what we look for. We call the time to the first wow. So we want to decrease the time to the first wow. For me, it was coding. For my co-founder, he sold a big media business before this. And for him, it was in writing. And so whatever you do, I find you just have to try to get AI to do it. And if it does a great job, then that's your first wow.
Yeah. Megan, what about you? What was your first wow?
My first wow. So when we did the very first use case at Robinson with quoting, when we had a customer respond to an email and said that was really cool. That was like, okay, we did it. The customer responded to it, was excited about it. So that definitely was that. And maybe just to piggyback off your what's something that didn't work. I mean, you're going to have failures. It doesn't always work perfect. One of the way we started to look at AI to even look at, okay, going back to like the presentation where we talked about traditional AI, could we actually disrupt that and use the agentic AI to do some pricing models? That didn't work. So we tried it, didn't work. We went back to what we did. So you definitely got to learn and just be open-minded to what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott?
I think our first big wow was for AI was when we first started the company, when WeatherOptics was first founded. We were approached by the meal kit delivery company, Blue Apron, and they asked, could you build us a road risk score based off of the weather? So we acted like this was something that we could do just like right off the bat. We're like, yeah, sure, no problem. We can build you a road risk score. And behind the scenes, what we were doing is we had our meteorology team literally creating risk scores for every single county in the country to manually do that process first. And then we trained off of what would those meteorologists rate those counties based off of the weather. We trained our first iteration of that road risk score. So seeing it go from this manual kind of panicked process where we were putting together like our own 0 to 10 score to having that automated, I think was the first big moment for us that we were like, this is really fantastic.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So Megan, you kind of led into this pretty well when that customer first said, wow, this is pretty neat. Scott, you talked about how, at WeatherOptics, you're not just trying to predict the weather, you're also trying to analyze the impact of that weather, share the impact of that weather with the customers. I don't know where I heard it, but it's been kind of one of my guides as a product person, which is people don't really care about the weather. They want to know whether or not they need an umbrella. How do you stay focused on delivering what's actually valuable to the customer rather than kind of just building cool things with AI?
Yeah, that's our whole kind of value prop, which is listening to the end customer and what they really want. And so we started with a set of, products that we thought were useful to the end customer, but through working with our first couple early adopters and understanding that okay, weather adjusted ETAs are really important, and figuring out what alternative routing option is really important, and connecting with the ELD provider is really important. We iterated kind of slowly based off of that customer feedback. So I think it's okay to start off with what you think the market is looking for as like a proof of concept, especially when you're early on in building a company, and then being able to show that customer an early MVP and having them give that sort of feedback, and then truly building what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah. Megan, what about you?
I would say the ability to solve the problem in the work. So back to our controversial workflow, I always look at adoption as your number one. Obviously, you need your P&L impacts, but if people aren't adopting it at a decent rate, then something's not working right. So we focus on adoption and then laddering that up to the financial impact. So if they don't do it, then we didn't remove those touches, and that means it didn't. So that we still stay very metric driven in that process.
Yeah. What's your experience been, Armand, working with companies as they try and implement, AI solutions in their own business for their customers?
Yeah, I mean, we joke that oftentimes it's like the COO of business that reaches out to us, and we find out that essentially what happened is the CEO sent an email to the C-suite saying, we need AI. I see all these tweets and LinkedIn posts about how AI is saving all this money and making all this great impact. So we need AI, but no one actually knows what that means. And so we almost need to back everybody up and understand, why do you want AI? What can we use this for? And then we bring people through that process. And Megan, I agree with you that like adoption is a leading indicator to impact. Like you need people to adopt the tool. So I love that that's your core metric. But I think like leading into that, we just need to understand, why are we doing this?
The identification of the problem. If you can't articulate the problem, then you're going to struggle.
Yeah, this is like 101, for any problem development.
Yeah, it's really neat that, a lot of the fundamentals haven't changed. It's just another tool to kind of deliver value. Exactly. So in terms of understanding that problem, Megan, I love that you brought up kind of the decision guidance versus, automated actions. How do you decide when you want to help guide a human versus if it's an action that you want to automate? What are kind of some of the things that you look at to make that decision?
So in one of the P&Ls that I run, we built a fraud agent. And in that example, it was, we had this vision like, okay, the fraud agent's going to look at every enrollment every day, and then it can cancel these ones and do all, right? Like we kind of knew the end state, but we had these phases to get there. And we've kind of got to like phase 3, and we're like, honestly, that's good enough right now. I don't need it to go do all these actions. I'm going to have one employee do these actions because it's really just not worth us to go the next step as we're still working on the model. So you have to take the maturity of your model in conjunction with your workflow to decide when you start removing some of those steps that the human would do when you feel confident enough in your model and that accuracy. So I really think you have to like think through all those things, and then that will help with your adoption. But if you go too fast with it and have it do too much decision making and it's wrong, then you got to start from scratch and getting people to readopt again. So you just have to be really thoughtful on your rollout process.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a feedback loop that aids in each thing.
And then is it worth it to go all the way or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Scott, makes me think, for your business, for the weather, that has some pretty significant real world impacts. Weather can kill people, and we can suffer some pretty serious tragedies around that. And so, fully automating how you plan for various weather events is probably higher risk versus, the way that you're utilizing AI to just give those better recommendations.
100%. It's definitely about giving the end user the right tools to make the decision, as opposed to trying to automate those decisions for them. Because you play a dangerous game and you run a risk if you're making decisions automatically for your end user based off of weather data and impact insights that we've created. No one knows their business as well as the people who are actually running it, right? So we like to give just enough information and enough of the tools and a workflow that they can use to easily make decisions without actually doing that decision making for them. So that's super important for us. We never push a reroute or something for a truck driver to take a different route. We give them the tools that say, hey, route A has a risk score of 7, route B has a risk score of 5. I'm obviously simplifying a bit, but giving them the right kind of information and insight so that they can end up making the right decision for them.
Absolutely.
And then you can use that data then to like eventually automate it. But like this is a journey, right? And like we use risk score a lot too to then decide when to pull the next lever.
Yeah. So for folks kind of getting started using AI or that it might be earlier in their process of implementation, Armand, I'll start with you on this one. And you spoke about it a little bit, but how do you choose a relatively small project that you can, wrap your arms around, really understand, and get some quick wins versus, there are some days that it feels like AI can do anything and can solve all our problems. Now, that's not true. You try and implement that, and it's just this overwhelming process that you don't move forward on. But how do you kind of choose between those smaller to those larger projects? What does that journey look like?
Yeah, I think there's two big things. One is understanding the technology and not being afraid to say, okay, I'm going to go and try and understand that. And the second is, let me actually dig into that. So one thing, for example, is these AI models, we all have heard the word hallucination, right? It comes up with stuff. And so we like to teach everybody that we work with that AI is probabilistic. It is a probability machine. And so if you need anything that is 100% accurate, by definition, AI will never be able to do that. So this is the wrong tool for the job. It will never be the right tool for the job. That is one way that we can look at this. The next is you can think about it like a junior employee. A junior employee will never be 100% correct. Well, what do we do to manage the junior? Sometimes we put the junior employee in a team and we have 3 of them have to agree in order for some action to take place, right? You could do the same thing with model. Another thing we could do is you need to get approval from your manager. This is like human in the loop, right? So you could have the AI, you could build a system where you need to have approval from a human being in order to move forward. Or you can have approval from deterministic code where like 2 + 2 has to equal 4 in order for some action to take place. So understanding the technology and what it's good at, what it's bad at is step one. The other one is just learn from other people around you. A lot of people have had successful case studies and great artists steal. So we should just like borrow ideas from each other and steal what other people are doing shamelessly, because AI is not good at everything, but what it is good at, it is really, really good at. And so we should just borrow those quick wins from each other.
Yeah. Megan, Scott, anything you want to add on that one? Yeah. So, as we're getting kind of towards the end of time, and I kind of want to ask each of you all, again, being on the leading edge, being familiar with AI, what are you most excited about tackling next? What is the next thing that you hope to see for your own businesses or for kind of the industry as a whole with this new technology?
I can go first. I'm really excited. I'm working on how we should really the human component of the AI, how org structure should look. How does brokerage look like in the future with these agents? What does your job description look like? What skill sets are we using? All those roles. So I'm really excited about how businesses look, how the digital brokerage looks in the future, and what type of employees we need.
Absolutely. Armand, Scott?
I think I'm really excited about, marrying in more and more data sets, I think, to what we're already doing. The concept of kind of having weather intelligence is great, and having weather intelligence that is translated into impact is really exciting, and it serves a purpose. But, we're starting to explore other data sets as well. So looking at, more geopolitical events, looking at traffic and construction, road closures, other things that can add to that ultimate risk score that we create, that make it really easy for our end customers to take action. But having that be more comprehensive, and adding in new data sets.
Yeah, on a macro level, I'm excited for people to be able to free up time to do things that are actually meaningful for them. I think that a lot of menial work is going to be automated, and a lot of exciting work is going to be left for us to do, but that's like perhaps years down the road, but that is exciting. Right now, every day we see people just like their minds get blown with how quickly things are moving. And they're, like I said, really quick wins. Like I would invite everybody to go sign up for ChatGPT's $200 a month subscription. Just sign up for 1 month and then you can cancel it if you don't like it, and try the O3 Pro model. If you've only been using the free tier, the $20 a month tier, you don't know how good it is. And just seeing those quick wins and like those like, wow, this is like, I'm seeing what everybody's talking about.
Will it make better pictures of my dog?
No.
It's a good use case.
It's a great use case. No, three colors that do not make a picture. But it could like write a research paper on why your dog's the cutest toy.
Okay.
If you need that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something that, you don't know until you try it, how good it can be. But that's it for time. So Armand, Megan, Scott, thank you all so much for being here.